Welcome to Biz One-on-One.
Shane Bishop of Catalyst Healthcare is a pharmacist by trade who one day realized there was an incredible business opportunity in connecting a new breed of pharmacy packaging automation direct to patients. Welcome, Shane.
Thank you so much for having me.
This is quite a journey, and of course we know each other from doing some business together. Mm-hmm. How does a pharmacist end up transforming the whole delivery of drugs to the patient?
Well, I guess, my story is I had the opportunity to set up the first closed-door, non-retail pharmacy in Western Canada, and to bring in a special type of automation that actually packages medications in a specific format, kind of geared towards, at that time, long-term care facilities. So a more efficient way for pharmacies to package medications, and also safer and more efficient for nurses to provide this medications from these pouches. It was after utilizing this automation and delivering this packaging format to nurses that I came up with this idea. And it was all based around the fact that I was seeing some inefficiencies in the pharmacy, miscommunications between nursing and pharmacy, and nursing still providing at times the wrong medication to the wrong patient, or the wrong medication at the wrong time. Not the nurse's fault, just the system's fault. So I went out and I came up with this concept whereby I approached the vendor of the actual hardware that provided it to my pharmacy, and I said, listen, I would love to be able to have a software platform that basically takes all the information from pharmacy, sends it to your automation. I'm going to tell you what to package, you tell me it has been packaged, and then I'm going to provide that packaging up to a nursing station where a nurse is actually going to scan the barcode on that pouch, and up's going to pop Randy's picture and actually ensure that it is in fact the right medication given to the right patient at the right time.
This is a huge, huge problem in the medical community, and especially with our aging population. So much of the medication that ends up getting prescribed doesn't actually end up with the patient, or they get the wrong medication. Talk to me a little bit about the need for your product.
Yeah, I mean, we started off in the long-term care space, and we were definitely seeing that. We were seeing medication omissions because of the packaging, or the pharmacy themselves didn't package the right medication. All types of areas where, there could be, inefficiencies, or, areas of concern.
Mistakes.
Just mistakes happening, yeah. Right? Manual labor and that sort of thing. It doesn't matter how passionate nurses or pharmacists or the pharmacy technicians are, great workers. At the end of the day, humans are humans. So to really provide a wrapping of technology around what was going on to prevent that sort of thing, we then branched out, where I'm really excited right now, we branched out into the home care market. So we actually came up and integrated our platform, which we've been really great at over the last number of years, into an at-home med dispense device that actually spits out medications for people at home.
Really?
We wanted to provide something that was 100% accurate, where it just beeped and whistled. You can engage the patient with this. How are you feeling today, Randy? You can hit the happy face and send that information back to the pharmacy. I have all this information now. Right? It really is about driving the health of the patient at home and making sure you take the right medications at the right time.
So how big of a problem is it for the healthcare industry, let's say in North America, mistaken medications?
Well, if you look at a number that's thrown around all the time in healthcare right now, there's a $300 billion issue right now. $300 billion. The stats are 50% of, patients living at home on 2 or 3 plus medications, which are tens of millions of people, by the way, end up back in an acute care setting because they're just not taking their medications correctly. So it's a major problem.
Tell us your story about how you end up leading a company, a technology company, and getting out of being a pharmacist, and now actually you've got kind of the worldwide head start on this particular technology. It's amazing.
Yeah, I guess, I was fortunate enough when I came out of university, I took my first position as a pharmacist in central BC, and the individual who I worked for was actually the president of a major chain of pharmacies across the province of BC, owned and operated 5 pharmacies up north. So I really dug in and learned the business of pharmacy, which I love business. It's great. I've learned a lot about business along the way, and any entrepreneur does and is forced to learn about business. So that was very exciting for me. But at the same time, after 2 years up north, I came back to Kelowna and set up my own pharmacy. It's really about patient care, right? To grow that business, you have to be, first of all, you have to like what you're doing. You have to be very caring to people, and you can actually change the lives of people by looking at their medications, interactions, all the different things that pharmacists do. It's actually very rewarding to see what happens with the patient. I then had the opportunity to explore the technology side, which wasn't just about me one-on-one with a patient in my pharmacy. It was really about healthcare for the masses. How do I prevent these types of errors to everybody in North America, right? It's now turning into a global opportunity. We have, groups from Australia, New Zealand, Europe coming through Kelowna to our office looking at what we've put together, which is this ecosystem of care. So I think I'm excited because at the end of the day, this could touch tens of millions of patients and not just the patients that were coming into my pharmacy.
And you've partnered with some big companies like McKesson, really one of the biggest companies in the whole industry.
Absolutely.
So you've taken this to the next level now. So where are we going to see Catalyst Healthcare in the next year or two?
Yeah, we spent the last couple of years building out the scalable backbone to allow any pharmacy in North America to plug into what we do, have access to packaging so that they can provide it to the little devices of the world. Drop in this cartridge and you're off and running. Got all of our FDA approvals and all the different classifications that were required just past September. We launched it here in Western Canada. Absolutely phenomenal, uptake from the individuals and the feedback. But I see what's going to happen now is we're now talking to the third-party payers, right? These insurance companies that are concerned about that $300 billion and keeping the people at home out of the hospital, because that's where the costs are incurred. How do you do that? You keep people on their medications, you engage with these patients. So pharmacies are starting to adopt across Canada. We've launched it in the US. We have a number of pharmacies with contracts in hand about to sign. So we'll have full coverage across Canada in the next 3 months. Probably every province will be live and up and running with this technology with patients out in the community. US is right behind. We're hitting the bookends, Florida and California right now. But I'm excited about the insurance players and the groups like the McKessons that you alluded to. I mean, Amazon's likely to come into pharmacy. They have Alexa sitting on a countertop that engages you, right? What's that going to do to healthcare? I think it's going to be great for healthcare, but what is everyone else going to do? We have first to market. We're going to own the countertop space, which is what it's all about. Once you're in there, right, you can help people with their health.
Amazing story, Shane, and so proud that you came out of Kelowna, British Columbia, with this, what's going to be a huge international company. And, I congratulate you because you're going to make a big difference for patients all over the world. So congratulations and thanks for being on Biz 101.
Thank you, Randy. Appreciate your time.
You
Take
bet.
care.
Stay tuned for more Biz One-on-One.
Our next guest on Biz 101, Jamal Khan of the Jamal Khan Financial Group, has a master's degree from the University of Toronto in, you guessed it, the arts. When he realized that his professional aspirations lay in business, Jamal, like many entrepreneurs, had to figure out a lot on his own. As a result of learning on the fly and his education, he's learned to take a reverse engineering philosophy to his work. He's here today to talk about his unique story, his approach to finance, and why it's been so effective. Welcome to Biz 101, Jamal.
Thank you very much, Randy. It's a pleasure to be here.
You took an arts degree. I guess you didn't plan on being a financial guru.
No, not at all. 15 years ago, I had no intention of being in the financial services industry. I wanted to be an academic professor at a university.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like a lot of young people, I wanted to make a big social impact in the world. And at that time, I thought to myself, what better way of doing that than being a professor and teaching new young people and students, what at the time was my left-wing views of the world, and empower them to make social changes. So I was on that track. I went to the University of Toronto, completed a master's degree, and during that time, I decided it wasn't for me, and I came back to Vancouver in January of 2008, and I really wanted to get into business and entrepreneurship. Personally, growing up, I come from a very entrepreneurial household. My dad, when I was a young child, he had an import-export business in Asia. And a lot of my youth was helping him, moving boxes, doing some inventory on the weekends. So not your typical childhood.
That's why you wanted to be a professor.
That's why I wanted to be a professor. Yeah, that's right. So when I got back to Vancouver, because I didn't have the formal training, I wanted to go to UBC and do an MBA. And lo and behold, an individual that I had known for a little while had said to me, why don't you have a cup of coffee with a local financial advisor? He's pretty successful. And I'm a very open-minded person, so I decided, sure, I'll go meet this individual for a cup of coffee. And basically this person told me a little bit about the industry and did a pretty good job of hooking me and recruiting me, and I started with that person for about a year. And that was 10 years ago, basically, this August.
Interesting time to get into the financial planning business, 2008.
Yeah, so I basically started 7 months before a huge crash, and it was definitely challenging, but I learned a lot. I learned a lot about human fear and greed and how those elements of human nature come out in the financial markets. And I got some really good training. I did well, and I survived at probably the worst time to enter the business. So that gave me confidence, knowing that as things in the general economy improved and things would do better, that I'd probably have a bright future ahead of me. And I did survive through that period. It wasn't easy, but I did make it, and things did, with the economy, rebound after that.
So you've moved into a part of the business now that's working with some higher net worth people, and you've formed your own company. Tell me about how that came about.
Yeah, absolutely. So in 2013, I was running a branch in Metro Vancouver. I had a team of about 7 sales managers and 140 financial security advisors that I had built up. And we were doing mostly mid-level financial planning for income earners, $50,000 to $150,000 of income. And I started to see what was happening with technology and innovation, robo-advising, where technology, I think, would play a bigger role over time, helping that part of the market. And I began to shift away more to the high net worth market. Individuals who I like to say have good money problems. For me, I see my value as being somebody who can provide a solution to a problem. And if somebody has a good money problem and I can create a solution, I'm creating some value, and that is scalable and sustainable. So I saw an opportunity there. And in 2015, late 2015, early 2016, I started to build that platform out. So I started to go out into the market and start to recruit some key individuals, including lawyers, CPAs, private bankers, financial advisors who focused on corporate solutions. And we focused on 4 specific areas: high net worth investors that have a good money problem when they pass away of having to pay too much tax to their estate. Businesses, privately held businesses that are either growing their revenues very quickly with multiple shareholders or key people in that business. Businesses that are more mature, that have idle capital and cash that they're not, for whatever reason, reinvesting back into their company. And individuals that are looking to park their assets in a tax-efficient asset class. Those were the main areas. And through those areas and the collaborative tax and estate planning work that we've done with other professionals like lawyers and CPAs, we've been able to create value that is very quantifiable for our clients. And we've grown a lot that way organically, and we've created some great relationships. And for us now, at this stage, it's all about scalability and getting that message out to other individuals that believe they can benefit from our services and our planning that we do.
In the intro, I mentioned reverse engineering. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Reverse engineering for me, as a business owner, or if I'm helping a client, is figuring out what your end goal in mind is first. So having a vision, let's say a 5-year vision of where you want to be, where you want your business to be, what you want your life to look like. Being very clear and getting as many details down as possible.
Of what it's going to look like?
Yeah, of what it's going to look like. So if you have a 5-year vision for your business, writing down pen to paper, how many employees do I want to have? How many clients do I want to have? How much revenue do I want to have? How many earnings? What cities do I want to be working on? Giving you a roadmap or a destination of where you want to be. And then reverse engineering that process simply means chunking that down into chunks. So a 5-year plan, a 4-year plan, a 3-year plan. You chunk it all the way down to daily steps that you can take. And I like to use the acronym of a SMART goal: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time sensitive. And you'll find out by using that formula if your 5-year vision actually is doable or not, if it's attainable or if it's not attainable. Most people, when we're dealing with clients or we're dealing with other professionals, because we deal with a lot of different professionals in the type of work that we do, they have no clear vision usually of where they want to go or how they're going to get there. So the work that they're doing today, they don't actually know if it's productive or not, because they don't know if it's leading them closer to their destination or if they're spinning their wheels or if they're moving in a counterproductive way. So reverse engineering simply means start off with what your vision or what your goal is and work backwards to see what you have to do to achieve it.
Well, Jamal, congratulations on a pretty skyrocketing type of career. You just started in 2008 and you're already running your own quite substantial firm that's on the rise, and really great to hear your story and to learn a little bit more about your industry here on Biz 101. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
You bet.
You're watching Biz 101 with Randy Lennon.
What a thrill today on Biz 101 to have Peter Thomas, an icon in the entrepreneurial business world. He's joined us before on Biz 101 to talk about his amazing program, Life Pilot, which I highly recommend. But I've asked Peter to come back and just talk about Peter, because you are you're an amazing guy. Now, we talked about Life Pilot and living by your values.
Right.
Tell us a couple of examples where you made a mistake or went off track, and how you learned from that.
Well, I've been just blessed. Yeah, I really have, Randy. I look back at my life and I'm just so blessed. But I almost went broke once, and I literally went down 150 million one day, lost it all.
I hate it when that happens.
I know, yeah. Well, actually, 70 of it I didn't have. So I was underwater by an awful lot. And what I had is, we were going ahead building a bunch of real estate, and the market turned. The market turned on us. And so we owed all this money, and it took me literally 5 years to work my way out of it. I have to tell you a funny story, because I was feeling pretty bad about this particular time in my life. And I remember, I was thinking, my gosh, I might go broke. And of course I had the boats and the jets, and I thought, oh my God, I could lose everything. And I was feeling so bad. I went home to my wife and I said, honey, I said, things are looking pretty bad. And I said, I might just lose all my money. And I said, if I did lose my money, I said, would you still love me? And I'll never forget her advice, because she looked at me and she said, Peter, I'll always love you. I'll miss you. But she said, I'll always love you. So I thought, I better not lose that money. I better work hard.
And tip the waiters. We're here all week. I mean, that's a story, though, about the true entrepreneurs. There's an organization where you can belong, where you look at investing in other people's companies, and in order to join, it's not just that you're successful, you have to have built one, you have to have sold one, and you have to have blown one up.
Right.
I think it's called the A100. And
Well, usually I think you learn more in your unsuccessful ventures than you do from the successful ones, and hopefully you can repeat them. And you develop a sense of, like a due diligence questions, like you've developed a way of asking people questions. And I think in business you develop a way of asking people questions. And the first thing I look at any deal I ever do is the people behind the deal. And can I work with them? Do we fit each other's, do we like to go meet each other and talk about the deal and the challenges and all this stuff and that? Can you be honest and open and transparent with that person? And the people are critically important to me. Money's got nothing to do with it. It's about the people, and how much you can make is not really important. It's, will you enjoy the process with these people? And that's, I think, every deal. The Century 21, for example, was a life-changing deal for me in so many ways. It was successful, but I met some people that were just unbelievable, the guys at the head of the deal. I'll never forget, because when I got in that trouble that we talked about, losing the money, I remember that they were, I could have lost Century 21. And the credit union actually had said they were going to take it away from me. And so he said, I'd like to meet the guys that, would you, Peter, introduce me to the guys that own Century 21? I said, yeah, I guess I have to. Yes, I will. So we flew down to Los Angeles. I never prepped the president of Century 21 at all. So anyway, we go into his office and we come in, sit down, very cordial. Americans are so cordial, and he just, a cup of coffee, could you get this? Actually, it's interesting because his secretary was Susie Buffett, Warren Buffett's daughter. She was a secretary at that time. That's another whole story.
Wow.
But anyway, so we sat down, and so Richard said, let me catch up with this thing now. Peter, his name was Peter Bladinikoff. My name is Peter Thomas. He said, Peter, let me catch up now. Peter's gotten us some trouble here, and he owes you a bunch of money, and you're a big credit union, and you're going to probably take Peter's assets, and so you're going to get Section 21. Is kind of like that. He said, because I want to just review this. He said, well, he said, I don't know if you understand what the franchise agreement is, what it says, but it was written personally to Peter Thomas. And unfortunately, there's a clause in there that if he goes bankrupt, it disappears. He said, he can't go bankrupt.
Right.
But he said, and Richard was musing, he said, but he said if he did go bankrupt, probably what would happen is we'd need to replace him. And we want to get somebody else to run Canada. You know, thinking about it, he said, we'd probably ask Peter if he wanted to run it. And you could see the credit man just disappearing in his chair. And
Wow.
I'll never forget that kindness.
Wow.
And that's what real business is about. It's meeting people who you can ride, you hear the old story, ride the river with. But people who they're in the game forever. It's the game that they play, the game of life.
You've done a lot of real estate transactions,
I sure have.
and they have that adage, it's location, location, location.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying in all of your business deals, it's the people, the people, the people?
Oh, and real estate more than anything. I had an offer, the other day I had a deal come in El Paso, Texas, a hotel for sale, appraised at $14 million. I could buy the deal. The guy had it tied up for $4 million, and I could lend him $2 in a first position, because they would carry a second. Not getting complicated, but for $2 million, I could control a piece of real estate worth $14 million. So I like that. Sounds
Yeah.
like pretty good. I'm secure. I get interest on my money, and I own half the deal. Is the way it was going to go. I thought I liked that deal, so I said to my guy Kirk, I said, Kirk, run a check on this guy. And it came back, and the guy was appalling. It was like litigated, it was litigation, stuff like that.
Right.
Pass. Not even a bit interested.
Doesn't matter how good the deal is,
Correct.
if you can't work with the people.
Correct.
Wow. Thank you so much, Peter, for
Absolutely.
joining us on Biz 101. What a pleasure.
It's been my pleasure. Thanks, Randy.
Thank you for watching Biz 101. For more episodes and information on your favourite guests, check out biz1on1.tv.